Episode 181, Mark's Decision. A cry of surprise came from the crowd who were looking at the advertisement. It's an advertisement for Clock! It's the same model from Summer! Oh, I like her so much! So beautiful. Super beautiful. I must buy the clothes this time. It looks so dreamy. There was a commotion in the surrounding area. Many people stopped. In the office building on the opposite side, in the surrounding shops, everyone was watching. This electronic billboard could be seen by half of New York City Times Square foot traffic. Evelyn's face turned extremely red when she thought that so many people were watching her. The impact was too great. Harvey was a bad guy. It was unknown where the pink flower petals fell from. Evelyn stretched out her hand and grabbed one of the petals in the wind. The soft rose petals were extremely delicate. The phone rang. Evelyn's heart was beating very fast. She picked it up and saw that it was indeed Harvey. She bit her lips and answered. The man's husky voice came from the other end of the phone. "Evelyn, look behind you." Evelyn turned around like a puppet and saw a huge commercial billboard covered with a white curtain being pulled up. It was an advertisement painted on the outside of a hotel, showing Evelyn's advertisement again in a new medium. She dared to bet that Harvey had thought of the advertising slogan, "Clock wants to give you all the romance this fall." Evelyn's heart was beating so fast that she could barely control herself. She was shaking as she held her phone. "Harvey, is that what you want to say to me?" Evelyn suddenly felt regret. She regretted provoking Harvey, saying that he was not romantic. She brought this upon herself. She was treated with such care by the one and only man in the world who wanted her. In the future, if she met any man, no matter how much he would give her, how would she be as moved as she was at this moment? "How cunning of you, Harvey. You gave me the most romantic gesture because you didn't want me to escape from you." On the other side, Harvey's voice was magnetic. He spoke with a bit of evilness. "Evelyn, are you satisfied with everything I prepared?" Evelyn felt as if something was stuck in her chest. She was deeply touched, but she still stubbornly said, "Who asked you to prepare such things as this?" "You're not telling the truth again. You're very happy. Weren't you missing me because I haven't contacted you recently? You couldn't help but call me." Harvey did not mind this woman's attitude at all. There was a hint of laziness and arrogance in his voice. Evelyn snorted and said, "I just hit the wrong number. Don't think too highly of yourself. Speaking of which, where are you? Are you nearby?" She bit her bottom lip and lowered her head. Although no one had noticed her, and everyone's eyes were on the beautiful advertisement, Evelyn still seemed afraid that people would see the heat of redness on her face. On the surface, she seemed to be stubbornly ignoring him, but she was very concerned about whether he was nearby. "What? Are you missing me? Do you want me to be there with you?" Harvey asked slowly. The confidence in his words made Evelyn feel very unhappy and even a little angry from embarrassment. "I am not thinking of you. I am asking for information purposes only. If it is just a casual question, I will leave immediately. After all, I am not welcome." Harvey narrowed his eyes. He was looking at her blushing face from the car opposite her. Although he knew that she was not telling the truth, Harvey could not help but punish her for not begging him to come to her. He'd gone and done so much, yet she was not willing to give up on her stubbornness. "I mean, if I wanted you to appear, would you come?" she asked softly, as she gently held the flower petal in her palm. Sure enough, she still hoped that he would come to her. She wanted him to watch her work until she was at a certain level. She had told him that night when she stood next to him and looked down on the whole of New York City with him. She wanted to stand by his side, supporting him. "I think so. If you tell me what I want to hear, I will probably show up," Harvey said, looking at Evelyn through the window. It was as if he was talking to her in front of him. Although his tone was mischievous, there was a gentleness that he did not notice. Evelyn bit her lip. She could not help but complain in her mind that Harvey had come to make things so difficult by saying something like that now. He was really a man who would not take a loss at all. She should have been firmer. Sure enough, she was no match for Harvey. Her cherry blossom lips slightly opened, and Evelyn finally used a soft and gentle voice to say, I want you to come and see me. Whether you want to come or not is up to you. She hung up the phone after she had spoken. In the car, Harvey put the phone in his pocket and closed his eyes. When he opened them again, Harvey said seriously, "Zach, did you ever start a fight because of what Raquel said to you?" "Sir, can I ask you not to have sex with her?" Zach glanced at Harvey and frowned. This man, is he stupid? After Mark saw the advertisement on the electronic screen from afar, he quietly got up and went back to the car to take the clothes Evelyn had given to the prep room. It was still early, and there was no one in the prep room for the time being. Mark sat there in a daze, his mind buzzing and in chaos. He already knew who was playing those tricks outside. It was Harvey. It could be no one else besides him. And it wasn't something that surprised him anymore. It was the ad that hurt him. She had made an advertisement for the Cage Group earlier. She had promised him that she would not shoot another commercial. But she had gone ahead and done just that. No, perhaps it was not for the Cage Group, but Harvey. The first time was probably for Harvey as well. She broke the promise again. It was always like this. She would promise him something, but then it was easily broken. Why, Evelyn? Why did you destroy our agreement? He thought. You said I was enough, and neither Timothy nor Harvey was anything to worry about. You lied to me. You said you would not find a boyfriend before I graduated, but you were entangled with Harvey. You lied to me. You said you would not shoot commercials. You did it again and again for another man. You lied to me. You haven't kept any of these promises. And what about the rest? She had said that they would be together forever and never be separated. These words to her did not matter at all. I have always been serious, but you keep tricking me again and again. When Evelyn came in, she saw Mark sitting there with his hands clasped firmly together. Evelyn blinked. Because of Harvey's phone call, she was in a good mood now. Her voice became lighter. Mark, I'm back. I will do my best today in the competition. Mark sat there without moving. Evelyn blinked her eyes and felt that something was not right. She leaned over and asked, What's wrong, Mark? Mark finally raised his head and looked at her with a pair of eyes filled with pain. Evelyn, why did you do the advertisement? Mark asked. Evelyn was stunned and remembered that she had not told him about her advertisement. She clenched her hands in embarrassment and said guiltily, I'm sorry, Mark. The pay was very high, and Alex has been looking after me and providing some tips to help my designs. I like the clothes he designed, so I did what I had to do. Mark felt a twinge in his heart. She didn't tell him the truth. With a bitter smile, Mark stood up and looked at her sadly. It is always like this. Always you saying sorry. What's the point of always saying sorry if you just keep doing the same things? I can't forgive you any longer. Mark spoke softly, and then he walked out. His heart was filled with sorrow. He didn't know how long she would keep her relationship with Harvey a secret. As he was thinking about how long she had known Harvey, a realization dawned on him that he did not know how many things she was still hiding from him. His heart hurt so much. Why lie to me, he thought. Why hide that man? What's so good about him? What's so amazing about a man like that you keep lying to me for him? Mark! Evelyn looked at his slumped figure and felt her heartache. She pulled him back. Why did he have to show such a sad and lonely expression? Mark, what happened? She stopped Mark as she felt a little helpless. She bit her lip and hesitated for a moment before softly saying, I'm sorry, Mark. I shouldn't have kept it from you. After the competition, can I make it up to you? I am not a child. I hate it when you treat me like a child. Mark's voice echoed in the empty room. It rang in Evelyn's ears and reached her heart. Evelyn let go of his sleeve. Mark lowered his head and whispered bitterly, Good luck with the competition. I have something important to do. After Mark finished speaking, he left in a hurry. Evelyn nibbled at her lips and lowered her head, clutching her clothes. Wasn't he going too far? She knew that he was mad at her, but she thought if she talked to him, he would forgive her. As long as she talked to Mark, he would forgive her. Everyone had said that Mark was dependent and relied on her. But at this moment, Evelyn couldn't help but wonder if she had been relying on Mark all along, acting willfully and wrong towards him. Who in the world was the child? She thought she only needed to apologize if she had done something wrong. How childish was she? Evelyn stood there in a daze. Not long after, a staff member wearing a cap came over to put something away. Evelyn could not dodge in time and bumped into him. "Sorry." The man picked up her ID and handed it to her, lowering his head. Evelyn quickly restrained her thoughts and said, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have blocked the door." The man nodded and turned to leave. Evelyn looked at the man's back and noticed that he was tall. He was not as tall as most men, but did appear strong. His hair was a little golden wisp escaping from his cap. Maybe a foreigner with the coloring of that hair? The man hustled out of the room, and soon more people were entering. Evelyn had to get ready for the first round. When Mark had gotten into the car and was about to calm down, his phone rang. Mark did not want to answer the phone, but the phone kept ringing. Mark finally got annoyed, picked up the phone, and impatiently said, "Didn't I tell you that I have something to do in the morning? Don't bother me." On the other side, Ray said seriously, "Boss, an important matter has come up. Please come back immediately." Mark frowned impatiently, but he didn't want to stay here any longer, so he agreed. He didn't think that this simple and angry decision would almost make him regret it. Everything was about to become chaotic because of this decision. Episode 182, Kidnapped. In the building, the competition was in full swing. Harvey's arrival was a pleasant surprise. "Harvey! It's Harvey! Harvey is an amazing judge for this competition. Even if we can't win the championship, one of us might be chosen by the cage group in the end." Before Evelyn went on stage, the noise around her almost drowned her thoughts out, and what made her panic was that one person who was causing all the chatter. Harvey. Evelyn could see Harvey through the curtain. The man in the suit was sitting on the judging panel. The light from the lamp flashed across his face. It did not feel real. Evelyn's head was about to explode, and her heart was thundering in her chest. What the hell is going on with that madman? He had said he might be there if she wanted him to, and Evelyn thought he might be present in the audience and watch the whole thing. But why was he sitting on the judging panel? In other words, this liar had deliberately told her that he did not have time to confuse her on the day of the competition, and now he was playing this game. This man was simply the worst of the worst. He was a complete liar. Evelyn pouted unhappily, but she felt a little sweetness in the actions as well. He was trying to surprise her. Evelyn felt that it was so sweet when she realized that he did all this just for her. After a short while, all the designers went up on stage. The first round of the competition was an introduction session. The people on the stage introduced their single best outfit, and the judges decided who would go to the next round. There were no models in the first round, only designers and outfits. Standing on the stage, Evelyn's gaze unconsciously drifted towards Harvey. Harvey held a pen in his hand, put it on his lips, and looked at her as if he were scheming in that head of his. Harvey winked at her with lightning-like eyes when their gaze met. Evelyn hurriedly lowered her head in panic. Madman. This man was truly crazy. He was so open and above board. In front of the camera, he winked at her in the middle of everyone, causing her heart to overload. Fortunately, it was a frantic pace on the stage and did not give her any time to be shy. The elegant female host walked up and announced the generous prize for the competition's winner. When she mentioned the prize, everyone was shocked. Become the chief designer of the cage group? We will work together with the company to create a new brand? The package was estimated to be worth millions over the lifetime of sales. With this bonus, what can't you do? There were countless wealthy people here, but this opportunity was enough for most of the designers to go crazy over. However, Harvey was somewhat dissatisfied with this. Luke had forced the prize money down to less than what he would have liked for the sake of fairness in the competition. The atmosphere was charged. but he wondered how it would have been if Luke had not lowered the prize money. He had put in a lot of effort to seduce Evelyn. No matter what, Evelyn would become the chief designer of the Cage Group. She seemed to care a lot about money, but she had always been a prideful person. She would not sell her dreams for money. So work hard for me and earn the money, Harvey thought. Harvey curled his lips and narrowed his eyes craftily. So work hard for me, Evelyn. Let me see you take the crown and come to my side. Defeat your opponents. Defeat everyone. I am a king, and only a woman who has become a queen is qualified to be by my side. So go and win the crown. Evelyn was indeed shocked when she heard the announcement of the prize. If she won the championship, she would be able to enter the Cage Group and become the chief designer. In other words, as long as she won, she would be able to realize her biggest dreams. Her heart couldn't help but be filled with excitement. She had even more fighting spirit than before. She had to win. Evelyn felt full of strength. She had successfully won the first round. Although Harvey did not forget to tease her during the match, the first round was not a big deal. After the elimination, there were only 12 people left. There would only be one champion out of the 12. She had to become the champion and enter the Cage Group. As soon as the round ended, Evelyn thought about how she could get her clothes back when her phone rang. When Evelyn saw it was Harvey's number, she quickly moved away from the crowd and picked it up. Hello, what's wrong? Why did you call? You were a judge. If someone hears you, you will be in trouble. Evelyn carefully looked around, afraid that people would notice. If anything happened, it would be terrible for her and not just Harvey. She had been a paparazzi before, so she knew how they worked. It doesn't matter. I will not be a judge after the competition ends. I will send someone to help you get your clothes home. They will be sent to your apartment tomorrow. Come out and see me now, Harvey said to Evelyn aggressively. Evelyn pouted and complained. Why are you always so overbearing? Harvey smiled evilly. Don't you like me being so overbearing? What's wrong with that? I'm the domineering one. Evelyn couldn't do anything about his shameless and illogical talks. She clenched her fists. She hadn't seen him for the past few days, and she actually missed him. Evelyn knew she should have apologized to Mark, but she wanted to see Harvey before she did. She took a deep breath and whispered, Where are you? The surveillance cameras in the parking lot are off. The license plate is GHX189. Come quick, I'll be waiting for you, Harvey said and hung up. Evelyn bit her lip and hung up the phone. She took a deep breath and patted her cheek to calm the heat rising, then turned around and jogged to the elevator. Evelyn did not know that the moment she entered the elevator, someone was standing there, watching. Seeing the floor change, the man lowered his cap and went down the stairs. She took the elevator, and the man took the stairs. The two of them went to the lower parking lot one after the other. Evelyn was looking for Harvey's car when a male voice suddenly sounded behind her. Your name is Evelyn, right? Evelyn stopped walking and turned back around. She blinked at the man in a uniform and cap. He was looking down, so Evelyn couldn't see his face, but the little golden hair he revealed reminded her of the staff member she had seen that morning. Are the sponsors looking for her? Evelyn gave him a friendly smile and nodded. Yes, I am Evelyn. Is there anything I can help you with? After Evelyn finished speaking, she wondered if he could speak English, as his accent had been heavy. He appeared to completely understand her words and said, There is something. He put on his cap and walked towards Evelyn as he spoke. There is a place that I need you to come with me. Evelyn laughed dryly. Evelyn completely missed the danger approaching. The man walked in front of her and lifted his golden eyes to meet Evelyn's. Evelyn's entire body trembled as she instinctively felt fear from that gaze. This pair of eyes seemed very dangerous and unflinching. His perverted eyes were just like those she had met one rainy night long ago, twisted and crazy. Evelyn took a step back and wanted to turn around and run, but the muscular man grabbed her arm and held it in his arms. The handkerchief in his other hand covered Evelyn's mouth. No, don't faint. Don't lose consciousness, she yelled internally. Harvey, save me! A tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, the blonde man whispered in Evelyn's ear in a low, crazy voice. When Evelyn's consciousness finally began to give in, only this sentence remained in her ears. What did this mean? A tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye. Who was this man? Why did he want to knock her out? Where was he taking her? Episode 183, An Eye for an Eye. A lot of questions surged in Evelyn's mind, but she did not have the strength to think anymore. She struggled again, but her body slumped. Harvey was on the other side of the underground parking lot. He did not see what had happened. The man carried Evelyn on his shoulder, and while doing so, dropped the phone and wallet from Evelyn's small pocket. The man picked up the phone and threw Evelyn into the car without noticing the wallet. He slid into the car and drove away. When the car turned a corner, Harvey took a look inside the car. His eyes inadvertently bumped into the other man's, and he frowned slightly. The man had a scary look. His eyes seemed very dangerous and crazy. Harvey's hand unconsciously reached for a gun under the seat. It was not a good sign to meet such a person here. The other party might pull out a gun and shoot him in the next second. However, the car just drove past him without another move. Harvey pursed his lips, and his heart was beating wildly. Speaking of which, why wasn't Evelyn here yet? She should be here by now. Could the fierce-looking man have caused some trouble up there and delayed her? Harvey wondered. Harvey had no idea that Evelyn was lying on the car's back seat, unconscious. Harvey opened the car door and decided to take a look. He turned the corner and walked towards the elevator. After a few steps, Harvey stepped on the wallet on the floor. He picked it up and opened it. Inside was Evelyn's ID. She'd be looking for him right away if she was in the parking lot. Why didn't she show up? Harvey's heart was beating fast. He grabbed her wallet tightly and turned around in a hurry. Damn it! Harvey rushed to the car and sped away. Something had happened. The moment Harvey opened the wallet, he knew that something had happened to Evelyn. The image of that ferocious man appeared in his mind. It was him. He kidnapped Evelyn. He had been too careless. He had never thought that the fierce-looking man would kidnap Evelyn. As he drove, Harvey called Evelyn. Her phone kept ringing, but no one answered. Harvey hung up the phone angrily and called Zach. Zach picked up the phone call on the second ring. His voice was as cold as ever. Sir, did something happen? Harvey said coldly. Zach, Evelyn has been kidnapped. Send everyone out to find me a black SUV. I didn't see the license plate. The driver is a foreigner with a fierce look in his eyes and golden hair. Chase all the routes out of the TV station. Yes, sir. Zach did not hesitate when he heard what Harvey said. The madness and horror in the man's eyes were not something a typical kidnapper would have. It didn't seem like the kidnapping was for money or extortion. Was that his enemy? No. Evelyn was always by his side as a model when she appeared in public. As for her personal information, it should be well protected. Moreover, he had not offended anyone recently. It almost seemed like he was a professional killer. A professional killer. As soon as the two words came out, Harvey, who was driving around the streets trying to track the man, slammed on the brakes. The car behind him was caught off guard and almost hit him. Harvey drove to the side of the road and called Mark. Although this possibility was very low, Harvey still had to confirm if it was Mark who had caused this trouble. After all, he had caused quite a ruckus recently. It was likely that someone was plotting against him. Mark was lying on his bed, wondering if he had screwed up his relationship with Evelyn when the phone rang. Seeing that it was a call from Harvey, Mark did not answer it for the first time. However, when the phone rang for the second time, Mark finally picked it up impatiently. What are you calling for? Your sister was kidnapped. It was a blonde man with crazy eyes who kidnapped her. Do you have any clues? Do you have any enemies that might do this? Think about it, now! Harvey's voice was anxious and angry. Mark's heart dropped when he heard this. Evelyn was kidnapped? How could this happen? Mark asked. After talking to Harvey, he leapt out of the bed. He had no idea why such a thing would happen. It should not be possible. It could not have happened. He had clearly protected Evelyn very well. Her identity should not have been exposed. Enemy? Blonde? Crazy eyes? He really could not understand the clues given to him. He had a lot of enemies. Who knew when the people in the underworld would come after him? There was no way to find someone using the clues. Mark was in a terrible state of panic. This was the first time someone had been able to reach Evelyn. He had no idea what would happen to her. His fingers were trembling. The only thing he knew was that a black SUV was used in the kidnapping and that the man had blonde hair. Mark tried to locate Evelyn's phone. He had already put the GPS in her phone. But Mark was certain if it was a professional, he would have disabled it already. When he couldn't locate her, Mark's heart turned cold. Harvey's words revealed that he might be a professional killer, making him feel uneasy. Now that he couldn't locate her, Mark completely believed him. Evelyn was caught by a professional. He had to find Evelyn as soon as possible. Who knew what terrible things might happen to her? Mark rushed out of the room and said to Ray, who was still playing cards downstairs, "My sister is in trouble. Send someone to find me a black SUV. The driver is a blonde with crazy eyes. Send everyone out. Also, bring all the dangerous foreign people still alive because of me. Before he could finish his sentence, Mark's phone rang. It was an unknown number. Mark's fingertips were cold. He had a feeling that it was the person who kidnapped Evelyn. Mark shot a glance at Logan, who immediately understood. He opened his notebook, gave him a thumbs up a few seconds later, and Mark picked up the call. "Hello, may I ask who you are?" Mark tried his best to appear calm, as if he did not even know what was going on. This was to buy time. "Could you hurry up and track her down?" he thought. "Your sister is in my hands. I will not leave New York City, and from now on we will play hide and seek. If you can't find me before midnight, I will send your sister's hand to you tomorrow morning. The rest of her will be crushed and thrown into the sea to feed the sharks. Do your best to find me, and bring no one with you, and no weapons. What is the reason for kidnapping my sister?" Mark continued to stall for time. His heart was already trembling from the anger. He had no choice but to remain calm. The person on the other side laughed and said in a crazy voice, "An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth." As soon as he finished speaking, he hung up. Logan raised his head with an extremely dark expression, and his voice broke the deathly silence. He dodged the tracking. "Damn it! Damn it!" Mark screamed. He punched the wall, and the rest of the people in the house heard the sound and ran out. They were shocked to see Mark in this state. He had never shown such a panicked expression before. This was not like him at all. Wayne's gaze fell on Logan. Logan said gravely, "Boss's sister was kidnapped." Wayne's body trembled violently. He understood now. This was why his boss was so angry. To Mark, she was his heart. Without her, his boss would not be able to survive. Mark was silent for about a minute. It was chaotic for him. If he could not find Evelyn, she might be killed. The disappearance of Evelyn from this world terrified him. He was incomparably frightened and panicked. He had never felt such fear before. No, she mustn't get hurt. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to rest in peace even if he died. However, after a minute, Mark managed to calm himself down and was ready for action. He wanted to be as strong as he could for her now because he did not want anything to happen to her. He had to gather his courage, calm down, and save her. Taking a deep breath, Mark turned around and hurried downstairs. As soon as he arrived downstairs, he saw the photo on the table. It was the photo of Lance Kenner, the man they had analyzed that morning. Mark's mind buzzed, and he immediately grabbed it. "It's him. It must be him." He quickly took out his phone and took a photo and sent it to Harvey. Harvey had seen the person who kidnapped her. If it were Lance Kenner, he would recognize him. Ray opened his eyes wide and said in disbelief, "Lance Kenner? He is a professional killer. We did trace his movements, as he was a foreign assassin who suddenly entered the country. We thought he was looking for trouble with someone, but why is he after you, boss? He should not have met you before. We can say for sure that the Hamilton group has nothing to do with him." Wayne said from the side, "But the timing matches, doesn't it? He just came yesterday, and today Evelyn was taken." Mark pursed his lips and said, "He said an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. It means that we have become enemies with him for something we did previously. If we can find out why we have become enemies, we will know his purpose." At that moment, Harvey called. Mark couldn't care less about their relationship. He quickly picked up the phone and said, "Hello, is that the person?" Episode 184, I'm Waiting for You. As soon as Harvey saw the photo sent by Mark, he recognized the person. "Yes, that's him. What is his background, and what does he have to do with you?" Harvey asked. "I've never met him before. I don't know what kind of grudge he has against me, but he called here for me. I have to find him by midnight, otherwise my sister will be in danger." Mark took a deep breath and said, "Please help me find my sister. You have much more power than I do." At that moment, Mark had completely let go of his pride. As long as it was for Evelyn, he could kneel in front of Harvey. Harvey was the only person who could call in favors in the city and could easily find any person he was looking for. Time was limited. Mark could no longer care about his reputation. "I don't need you to ask me for help. I am looking for Evelyn on my own. I will send the photo to the police station and to Quinn. I will find her, and as she is in this mess because of you, you will then make amends. Where are you now? I will meet you," Harvey said calmly. With this statement, he revealed his mature and steady demeanor. Perhaps he would typically have mocked Mark, but now he cared more about Evelyn's safety. She had to be okay. When Evelyn woke up, it was already evening. The glaring light made Evelyn unable to open her eyes for a moment. Evelyn narrowed her eyes to let herself get used to the light, and then began to look around. This place looks like an abandoned factory, she thought. There were many steel bars scattered on the ground. However, she could hear the distant sound of waves. She could see the seagulls circling over water in the distance through the window. Unlike the heaviness of being locked in this dingy factory, the beauty of the distant scenery made one feel as if they were in a dream. Evelyn would have thought she was still asleep if not for the lingering taste of a chemical in her mouth. To be accurate, she wished that she was in a dream. If only she were sleeping, she would have nothing to fear. Her mouth was covered. Evelyn could not call for help, but she lowered her head to figure out a plan. Evelyn had already determined where she was. It was a shipyard, an abandoned shipbuilding factory. Evelyn had experienced a lot of life and death situations, so she had some resilience when it came to this kind of terrible luck. Her hands moved slightly, and she realized she could not get them loose from their binding. Her legs were also tightly bound, and she could not move. She was tied to a pillar, and the material was very tight. She struggled a little, and the rope shrunk even closer. Evelyn did not know what kind of binding method this was, but it was very tightly done and evident that the person who tied her did not intend to let her get away. She did not know what she should do. Why would she be kidnapped? Evelyn could not think of a good answer. She was an ordinary person. She had never intentionally offended anyone. Harvey suddenly appeared in her mind. It might be something related to Harvey. It was possible. Dolores Cage had warned her not to be too arrogant more than once. She might want to teach her a lesson. Evelyn couldn't help but shiver when she thought of this. She comforted herself as she knew that Harvey would save her if someone close to him kidnapped her. He must have already started looking for her once she never showed up to see him. When Evelyn thought of Harvey, tears welled up in her eyes. Harvey would find her and save her, just like every time before. "Harvey, I'll wait for you. I'll try to be patient." "Looks like you're awake." A voice that spoke perfect English with a slight accent broke into her thoughts. Evelyn's body trembled in fear. The tall man carried a bottle of water in his hand as he walked over to Evelyn. He squatted down in front of her and pulled the cloth from her mouth. Evelyn stared at the man and tried her best to appear unmovable. She knew that it was useless to scream, so she opened her mouth to ask, "Who are you, and what is the purpose of kidnapping me?" Although she was trembling in fear, there was a hint of stubbornness in her voice. He couldn't help but admire her for asking such a question. "You have guts. I admire women with guts." The man smiled. Because his face was already fierce, his smile made him look even scarier. Evelyn shivered and tried to still her chattering teeth. She asked again, "What is your purpose, and what do you want from me?" The man took a few steps back and sat on a worn tire. He unscrewed the top from the water bottle and said, "To fulfill our promise to my family." This idiot had said something that Evelyn did not understand at all. She stared at him with quizzical eyes. A family promise? What kind of promise? She really couldn't understand, so she changed the question. "What are you going to do to me?" "I'm not sure yet. If the person I'm waiting for comes, there'll be no reason for me to hurt you. If he doesn't arrive, I will need to send a message for his disobedience to my orders. Anyway, you have to wait. Enjoy the sunset. You might not see it tomorrow." The man smiled sinisterly. Evelyn's face paled. She was not a fool and understood what the man meant. She shivered and leaned against the pillar behind her. Evelyn said, "You know, killing people is illegal." "You're right, but the law is like shit to me. Now I want to sleep for a while. The jet lag is catching up with me. You wait here quietly." The man stuffed the cloth into Evelyn's mouth as he spoke. Evelyn struggled hard, but was unable to break free from the gag. Her mouth was blocked, and this time he reinforced it with tape. After the man finished doing all this, he went to lie down. Evelyn felt a chill travel through her body. What should she do? Until now, she had thought that the Cage family might have sent this person to warn her or threaten Harvey. But now, she was not so sure. She had no idea who this person was or why he had kidnapped her. "Harvey, what am I going to do?" At that moment, Harvey was already at Mark's house. This was the first time Ray and the others had officially met with Harvey. They were shocked to see him, but Harvey was not in the mood to introduce himself to these people. He was not in the mood to pry into the business of the Hamilton group. Harvey pulled off his tie and walked over to Mark. "The police started looking for her 10 minutes ago. Quinn has already sent people to look for her." Mark nodded. It was time for them to put down their differences. Mark played the recording of the conversation and took note of the information. Harvey furrowed his brows and focused on one sentence. "A tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye," Harvey murmured. He was not calm, but he tried not to think about Evelyn. He focused on saving her. Even if he was worried and anxious, the situation demanded a calm head. The most practical thing was to stay focused on saving Evelyn and leave everything else for later. "This man is a professional killer. He has never been to New York City before that we are aware of, and our people have never contacted him. We have checked his previous work, and none of it has anything to do with us. It doesn't make sense to say an eye for an eye," Ray explained, scratching his hair. Harvey continued to ignore Ray. He felt that these words were the main point, the beginning of everything. Harvey's cold eyes widened. In a deep voice, he spoke to Mark. "He kidnapped your sister. You haven't had any formal contact with him from the looks of it, but his family might be related to you or your business somehow. Did you do something to anyone in his family to offend him so badly?" Episode 185, Vengeance. Ray was speechless after hearing what Harvey had just said. "But this guy doesn't have a family, according to the information I found," he said. However, Harvey's words struck Mark's nerves. He suddenly remembered something. "I remember the only time someone saw my face in the underworld was a while ago," Mark suddenly said coldly. He looked serious and said, "The killer nicknamed Night Devil took off my mask at the last moment." The fact that there was no family in the information did not mean that there was no family. In the underworld, people depended on each other for their lives. Even though people are not related by blood, the bond between them was no less than a family. Just like Ray and Wayne, they were not related by blood, but if one lost his life, the person who survived would not leave him unavenged. They were not blood related, but they were more than that to each other. Mark pursed his lips. He somewhat understood the dying man's strange smile. At that time, the man knew that he had no chance of surviving. He was willing to use his last bit of strength to remove Mark's mask because someone would take revenge for him. After hearing what he said, Ray hurriedly searched for information about Ace Roberts, aka Night Devil. Finally, he found some clues. "I found someone tied to Ace. The two used to be in the same mercenary group. When the group was wiped out, only the two of them survived." Ray's answers confirmed Mark's thoughts. When he pulled off his mask, they were worried that Mark's identity would be exposed, but they were only worried that someone would see him. They did not expect that Mark's image would somehow be sent to the man now in possession of Evelyn. Mark became even more nervous. If that was the case, that man's goal was to seek revenge for Ace Roberts. He wanted to kill Mark. If Mark did not appear at midnight, he would kill Evelyn. Mark was panicking, but he couldn't help feeling guilty and regretful at the same time. It was all his fault. He had dragged Evelyn into this kind of danger. He had said he would protect her, but he had now pushed her to the edge of life and death. Harvey glanced at his pale face and said, "Now is not the time to blame yourself. We can find them before midnight, but we need to move." Mark looked at his face in a daze and couldn't help but take a deep breath. Yes, he had to keep his spirits up. No matter what kind of opponent he faced, he could not panic. The sky was already dark. Evelyn did not know what time it was. She was tied up, mouth covered, and in one uncomfortable position for nearly a day. Evelyn's entire body was sore and numb. The man got up in the afternoon, ate, and went back to sleep, and it was only after dark that he woke up and came to her with a bulging bag beside him. It was on that bag that Evelyn's eyes fell several times. Her thoughts were racing. Evelyn was very concerned about what might be inside. When the man woke up, he could see Evelyn's round eyes under the moonlight. He sat up, looked at his watch, and said to her, "There are only 3 more hours left." Evelyn blinked her eyes. She could not speak, but she wanted to ask, "What do you mean, 3 more hours?" As if reading Evelyn's mind, Lance turned on the light from his backpack and placed it in the middle of the room. He walked to Evelyn and removed the gag from her mouth. "Come, let's chat. Maybe this is your last 3 hours in the world," Lance said with a smile. Evelyn's mouth was so sore that it dropped as soon as she opened it. Her mouth was completely numb. She could not save herself at all. She was not as lucky as those in the movies, as she hadn't seen anything like a piece of broken glass to cut the rope. After moving her mouth to ease the pain, Evelyn leaned against the pillar tiredly and asked, "Why exactly did you capture me? Since this might be my last 3 hours in this world, don't I have the right to understand why I must die?" Evelyn spoke very calmly, but her heart was in turmoil. She would talk to this person who looked like a lunatic, at least to ease the fear and panic inside. At the same time, she wanted to understand why this was happening. She had yet to guess what this man's purpose was, so she had to ask him. Lance looked at her. He took out a military knife from his bag and wiped it carefully. Night Devil, or Ace Roberts, as most people called him, was my brother. He died a few days ago. I want to meet the guy who killed him. Evelyn was stunned. The way he wiped the knife made her shudder. She felt that the blade would cut her throat the next second and spill her blood. She was terrified. But more than that, she was confused by his words. Who was Ace Roberts? Could the person who killed him be Harvey? Harvey was the CEO of the Cage Group. How could he do such a thing? He had always been thinking about how to earn money rather than do violence. Is there something wrong with this guy? I don't understand you. What Ace Roberts? What does that have to do with me? Besides, I don't believe that Harvey would kill someone. Did you take the wrong person? Evelyn asked. Although the chances were slim, would she be released if she was the wrong person? Lance glanced at her and said with disdain, "You are that brat's older sister. I know everything about you and that brat. Your pretense is useless." Evelyn was perplexed. She looked at the man in front of her as if she was looking at an alien. What are you talking about? I don't understand what you're saying. Are you sure you're not mistaken? A sense of absurdity had replaced fear. She only had a brother called Mark. He was a good young man and had a good moral character. A military knife appeared in front of Evelyn. Lance said coldly, "I don't like being played. I have investigated you. Your brother is Richard Glenn of the Hamilton Group. I have seen his face, and I am not mistaken about any identities here. You're cunning, but don't think about running away. When your brother comes at midnight, I will have a good time with him. If he doesn't come, I can grind you into meat paste and feed you to the sharks." As the man spoke, he threw the knife and stabbed it into the pillar behind Evelyn. Evelyn was so scared that her entire body trembled. Her heart was pounding, and she was terrified. But her mind was a mess, and she didn't understand. What? Richard Glenn from the Hamilton Group? Criminals in the underworld? Her brother? How is this possible? This is ridiculous. Her brother had always been a good young man. There has to be some confusion. While Evelyn was lost in her thoughts, Harvey and the others had already discovered something. "Found him! He's in an abandoned dock." After a day of searching, they had finally locked onto Evelyn's position. Mark didn't want to waste a second. He stood up and said thoughtfully, "I'm going to change my clothes and go rescue her now." "All right, let's go." Ray stood up as he agreed. Since he had confirmed the location, the next thing to do was get Evelyn out of the situation. "No, I will go alone," Mark said coldly. He turned around and hurried upstairs. Ray was stunned for a moment. He barked at Wayne and Crystal with a dark face. "Don't listen to him. Go and prepare the weapons. We will go together." Harvey sat on the sofa and said nothing. He lowered his head and thought long and hard. If Mark showed up, Would this murderous devil let Evelyn go? He did not think so. This killer had undergone strict training and was a professional killing machine. He was cold-blooded and would not think of showing mercy to women or children. Moreover, he was bent on seeking revenge. What was a tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye? Will he kill Evelyn and make Mark suffer like he suffered for Ace? Or will Mark be rewarded with death for killing Ace? Episode 186, Spilling Secrets. Harvey concluded that if Mark showed up, that person would kill Evelyn first and let Mark watch. Then he would kill Mark. A cruel person could do it. Whether it was a group of people or Mark, there was nothing good about the result. Evelyn's life was hanging by a thread. Mark had changed into a leather jacket with a gun and knife at his waist. Even his pants had guns strapped to them. He never liked to use firearms, but that didn't mean he didn't know how to use a gun if needed. And he was a good shot. He usually used a knife, because that was the weapon he had used the first time he killed someone. He would never forget that. And that was the time he had learned his purpose. Over the years, no matter how much money he had, no matter how much he was used to killing, Mark had always told himself that he was not a murderer. Although there was no going back, and he had embraced his place in the world, Mark did not allow himself to sink into the darkness and be dragged down by his choices. This time, however, he took the gun. He wanted to kill the man who had dared to hurt Evelyn. "Boss, we'll go with you and hide outside," Logan said firmly. Mark fastened the buttons on his leather jacket and said, "There's no need to hide. If he walks out onto the dock, I am already dead. You won't be able to kill him. So gather the others and let them know. Don't die for nothing." "Boss, don't carry everything on your own. We're here, willing to do anything to protect you. It's only right for us to go through life and death with you." Crystal, who was also carrying a gun on her back, could no longer hold back. She knew that her boss cared about his sister. His sister was his most important family member, so he was willing to give up his life. But why didn't he understand their viewpoint? His boss was also their family, and they were ready to go through fire and hell for him. "Thank you, Crystal, but I cannot take the risk. If he finds out that I am not going alone, he will kill my sister. I cannot risk her life," Mark replied seriously. He did not care about his safety, nor did he care about his subordinates. He only cared about Evelyn getting out alive. Mark had thought that he could be shot if he went, and he was willing to risk his life even with that knowledge. He had to make sure Evelyn was okay. "But, boss, Crystal wanted to stop him, but Harvey, sitting on the sofa, said, "Let's stop here. Evelyn could be in greater danger if you all go. Your appearance will indeed cause trouble, so I'll go with him." After Harvey finished speaking, he stood up. Mark looked at him coldly and said, "It has nothing to do with you. If you go, it will be useless. You will only cause more trouble. Who do you think I am?" Harvey snorted coldly and said arrogantly, "No matter what my looks might tell you, I've fought my share of battles. Just listen to me if you want her to be safe." Mark's heart was burning with anger, but he held back. He clenched his fists and with a contorted face said, "What are you going to do?" Harvey took out his phone and called Zach, who was on standby. Zach picked up the phone when he saw Harvey calling. "Sir, what can I do for you?" "Prepare a helicopter for me. Then prepare 10 million. "Yes, sir. Is it a ransom of 10 million? Do we need to wire it directly somewhere?" Zach asked. "No, I want cash." "Cash? That's right. Put the 10 million in the helicopter and come pick me up." Harvey hung up the phone and glanced at his watch. Harvey looked at Mark and said, "Wait a minute. I will go by copter, and you will drive the car to find him. I will try my best to attract Lance's attention and leave Evelyn's rescue to you. It doesn't matter if he needs to be killed. If he escapes with Evelyn, she won't survive." Mark stared at him and opened his thin lips. He squeezed out a sentence with difficulty. "I will return you the money. I won't accept it. Just remember I saved Evelyn. I want to ask you a question." Harvey looked at him and said thoughtfully, "After this, you can't hide it anymore. How are you going to tell her the truth?" Mark's body stiffened, and he slowly lowered his head. That's right. After this, he would have no choice but to tell her everything. Everything about him, her, and the truth that he had sealed. Was he ready to undo it all? I don't know, because my mind is filled only with thoughts of her safety right now. It doesn't matter what happens. As long as I can save her, nothing else matters. Mark only cared about Evelyn at the time. It doesn't matter what you say, because no matter who you are, I can defeat you. So no matter what you say to Evelyn, I don't care. Harvey responded as he glared at him coldly. Mark was startled and looked up at him in disbelief. However, Harvey was no longer looking at him. He still looked cold and arrogant, as if at total ease with his words. He was confident and didn't care what Mark said to Evelyn. He believed that he was the only one who could easily bind Evelyn to himself, but he had a feeling that he hadn't done for Evelyn as much as others had. Timothy had decided to let go of Evelyn for her happiness by pretending to forget her, and Mark stepped into the darkness for her. Perhaps his heart was slightly shaken by this, by seeing those people giving up so much for her. He had never done anything for a woman. This was the first time he was willing to go to any extent for a woman. Harvey couldn't help but wonder if he had become a stranger to himself. He was willing to do it because the woman was Evelyn, and because Evelyn was special. The helicopter arrived around 11 o'clock. It was with Mark on the lawn. The cold wind blew Harvey's black hair as he looked at Mark with dark eyes and said, "This is close combat. Be careful." "I will protect her," Mark said with a resolute face. Harvey raised his eyebrows. "I mean, you have to be careful too. I don't want to see Evelyn lose her brother. She would suffer unduly." Harvey got into the helicopter as soon as he finished speaking. Mark muttered in a low voice, "Fool. If I die, I won't be a threat anymore. Sooner or later, you will regret what you said. Seriously, why don't you say Evelyn will be yours if I die? This way, I will fight to the death to live." The kidnapper had been spilling all of Mark's secrets before Evelyn. Was this the end of Mark's double life? Will Evelyn be able to connect the dots and learn the dark secrets of Mark? If yes, will she be able to accept this deadly assassin, who she once believed to be a sincere student, as her brother? Episode 187, Rescue Plan. Mark got into the car and drove toward the dock as the night wind whistled all around him. There was no moon or stars in the sky tonight, only layers of rain clouds. Mark hated this kind of night because it meant it would rain tomorrow. The rain was annoying because he knew that Evelyn would be in a lousy mood and scared. "Don't be afraid. I'll be with you." At the dock, Lance kept watching. When it was 11:30, he looked up at Evelyn and smiled. "There is still half an hour left. I wonder if he will show up." There was the rustling of wind everywhere, and the night was icy. The chilly wind blew across Evelyn's skin. She sat very still, and she was quite dehydrated. Her lips were pale as she looked at Lance. Although she was weak, Evelyn's voice was firm. "You better verify things properly. I know you've got the wrong person. You still don't want to give up. You still think you can confuse me." Lance took a sip of water and said, "Actually, don't waste your time. Even if I kill the wrong person, it means nothing to me." Evelyn's body was already numb to the point that her brain had become sluggish. Hearing his words, she was not afraid anymore. The corner of her mouth pulled up, and Evelyn smiled weakly. "Have you killed many people?" He licked his lower lip and smiled sinisterly. "I've been trained as a killing machine since I was a boy. I'd eliminated countless people by the age of 5. I live to kill people." Evelyn blinked her eyes numbly and said, "Is that so? That is a boring life. Killing is my interest, and it keeps me entertained," Lance replied with a scary smile. Evelyn's lips were dry and her throat hurt. She shut her mouth and didn't want to talk anymore. She had nothing to say to this killer. She couldn't help but think that this man had caught the wrong person. How could someone she knew offend such a powerful killing demon? He claimed that he had just come to New York, so he must be tracking someone similar to himself. Foreigners were also not good at distinguishing people's faces, so he must have caught her by mistake. But because this person was a murderer, he would not believe her, no matter how hard she tried to prove him wrong. She realized her life was in grave danger. Mark was also about to graduate. He would be an outstanding young man in the future. He had yet to start a family and continue the Petal family line. She had been an incompetent older sister, not putting arrangements in place for him if she died, but she had enough money for Mark to use for a while. And Harvey? If she had known that she would have such a bad day, she would have confessed to him. She was unlucky. She had not told him yet. Why was she always stuck not telling people when she fell in love? Either her confession died unspoken, or she didn't have time to confess. She was miserable. She missed Harvey now. Harvey, why haven't you come to save me yet from this murderous devil? Aren't you going to rescue me? Let me tell you, it's scary to think about the things he's threatening. I'm so scared, Harvey. I'm afraid. Why aren't you here yet? Evelyn did not realize that when she was at her most desperate, she still had a kind of conviction in her heart. That was the belief that Harvey would come to save her. He would come, so she had to wait. A strong wind suddenly blew over them as she was lost in her thoughts. Evelyn was tied to a vent, and Lance noticed the outside movement. However, a strong wind blew some paper into the space at that moment, and it hit Evelyn's face. Evelyn tried her best to open her eyes, but whatever was out there was whipping up quite a storm. What? What was going on? Damn it! Lance immediately switched his gun hand and walked to the vent to look outside. There was nothing outside on the ground. Then he looked up and saw the helicopter. Someone above was scattering money.
Kidnappers, listen up. My name is Harvey Cage, the CEO of the Cage Group. There are $10 million here. All of it is cash. I will give it all for you to release the woman. I promise that the helicopter will not get close as you escape.
Evelyn heard everything. Her eyes widened as she watched more and more money being released. It was unbelievable. Why, Harvey? Why was he putting on this display? Evelyn was stunned by the dramatic turn of events. She had been weak and desperate, but this turn of events made her sober up, especially when she heard that authoritative voice. Evelyn knew her chances of surviving had just gone up a lot. If it were Harvey, he would save her. She knew that he would come. The domineering and cold Harvey had really come. He was as overbearing and arrogant as ever, beyond her expectations. Evelyn could not open her eyes to see the money. Lance shouted angrily, "Shit! Stop! Right now!" Harvey was in the copter and could not hear him. He deliberately delayed and said,
If that is not enough money, you can demand more. I am luring a bullhorn, and you can talk to me when you get it.
At that moment, Mark had already dumped the car. He checked the weapons he had on his body and charged toward the spot. Lance was not stupid. He knew very well that the helicopter was a decoy. He turned around and took a gun from his bag. He looked at Evelyn and said, Looks like your rescuer is here. He is not stupid. He used this method to trick me. Evelyn pursed her lips and did not say anything. His gun was already loaded. Evelyn knew that she dared not provoke him now. Evelyn was worried about Harvey. Still, she believed there wouldn't be a problem if he didn't get off the helicopter. Lance didn't think Evelyn would say anything either. Harvey's little trick still gave him trouble. This money was flying everywhere, blocking his line of sight. He wasn't in a hurry because this was the only way to break through to this location. Time bomb. Mark, who wanted to break through the window at the top, saw the bomb tied to it. He took out his phone and called Harvey. Harvey was on the helicopter. A shadow flashed across his stony face as he listened to Mark's words. I shouldn't have thought it would be easy to deal with him. He is a top assassin. The bomb must be powerful. There's no other way. I can only get in from the front. Harvey twisted his lips at the microphone and suddenly said,
Lance, I've killed Ace, and now I'm here to kill you. Guess which direction I will be coming from.
Mark frowned. What are you doing? He hissed into the phone. Harvey raised his eyebrows and said, I'll cover you. Seize the opportunity. When I get off the helicopter, his eyes will be drawn to me first. Seize the opportunity and jump down to kill him. You're crazy. What do you think is in his hand? He'll kill you in an instant, Mark replied in a worried tone. He wasn't worried about Harvey. He felt that this was too risky. He was simply making him a target for a man that never missed. Harvey said in a calm voice, Cut the crap. Hurry up and do what I say. Time is limited. He was betting because he had also studied criminals before. Lance was prepared for everything, as he respected Ace, and knew that anyone who took him down was skilled. He knew that this was not going to be a simple task. Was Harvey taking too much of a risk? Lance was a trained mercenary and a deadly assassin who had put several to death. He wouldn't bat an eyelid before killing Harvey. Was Harvey gambling his life to save Evelyn? Episode 188, The Savior. Harvey was gambling. He was betting that Lance would be reluctant to kill Mark. But none of this was certain. This kind of person's thoughts was unpredictable. Who knew if he would suddenly change his mind and shoot? In short, life is a good gamble. A victory, not a guarantee. Harvey made up his mind. A few seconds later, a voice sounded in the sky.
Lance, I have killed Ace, and I will kill you now. Can you guess where I will come from?
The helicopter started to circle in the sky and more money spilled out. Lance laughed and murmured, "Hey kid, come and fight me." Lance stood in a position where he couldn't be shot. It was a dead end, so he was not worried about anything. He was not concerned that Evelyn would be rescued because she was right behind him. Evelyn and Mark were brother and sister, the most intimate people in the world. How could she not recognize Mark's voice? Mark's voice boomed in her ear, almost like an illusion. It was Mark's voice. There was no mistaking it. He was her younger brother, and she would never mistake his voice for someone else's. But that's not right. It shouldn't be. Mark, how could this be? How could you be here? Why? And why was Mark this man's target? Evelyn's face was pale. She had no way of connecting all of this with her brother. This man was a killer. How could her brother possibly provoke such a person? Though she recognized Mark's voice, she could not understand the sentence when he claimed to have killed someone. Murder? Did Mark know how to kill people? Impossible! This was ridiculous! Her brother was a good boy who was good at school and had character. He was handsome and he played basketball. He was bright, honest, and kind. How could he do such a terrifying thing? Impossible! There must be a mistake. Mark could not have killed or gotten involved in this thing. Evelyn suddenly screamed like she was crying blood. Lance stared at the helicopter stupidly. When Evelyn cried out, he got distracted for a second. After hearing what she said, Lance laughed evilly. Oh, you didn't know? Mark? Do you believe his real name is Mark? Poor stupid woman. Who said he couldn't kill? He's killed as many people as I have. Two sounds rang out at the same time. The moment the parachute came floating down from the helicopter, Lance regained his senses and opened fire. Suddenly, Lance's arm was slashed by a blade as a black shadow rushed towards him from outside. Lance immediately realized that he had been misled. However, this was nothing new to him. It was only a matter of a moment. He smiled arrogantly and charged toward the black shadow. Richard, I have been waiting for you a long time. Lance's gun struck Mark's face, sending him flying. After that, he raised the gun and pointed it at Evelyn, shooting without hesitation. Mark knocked the gun off target with his hand and grabbed it by the muzzle. He looked at Lance while panting. Your gun is slightly faster than Ace's was, but unfortunately, it looks like it is no match for my knife. Mark! Evelyn screamed. The battle between the two of them was over as soon as it started. Lance opened his mouth to speak, but his throat had been slit. He fell with a thud. The moment before he lost consciousness, Lance couldn't help but think that his opponent was a madman holding his gun like that with no regard for his own life. That was his last thought, because he couldn't think of anything else as everything went black. Mark ruthlessly killed him with a single slash. Mark was wearing a black leather jacket, so the blood could not be seen. Mark grabbed a piece of money and wiped the blood off the leather. He took a deep breath and turned to Evelyn. Evelyn's face was pale. Mark! How are you here? Are you okay? She only heard a gunshot and saw Mark's figure. She did not see what had happened because of the money whipping around her. I'm fine, Mark said. He walked over to Evelyn and sat down next to her. He leaned against the pillar and said, You are safe now. Evelyn wanted to turn her face to look at him, but the pillar made it difficult for her to move. She could only anxiously say, "Mark, what is going on? Why are you here? It's so chaotic. Everything is chaotic." "It's okay," Mark said. "You don't need to know anything. The sun will rise tomorrow, and it will be another beautiful day as this fades into the background. Did you win the competition?" "What time is it? Why are you asking about this? Where is that criminal? What's wrong? Will he come looking for trouble again?" After Evelyn said this, she began to pant slightly. Because she used too much strength, she felt a lack of oxygen and became dizzy. "Did you win?" Mark asked. Evelyn had no choice but to answer him. "Yes, I won." She still had a lot to ask, and a lot of things she didn't understand. She didn't want to accept everything that the criminal had said. She wanted Mark to answer her questions because she believed him more. Evelyn knew that there were many things that she still couldn't figure out, but the most important thing right now was to leave this place. After Mark untied her, he took out his phone and handed it to her. "Call Harvey. Tell him it's over. I'm tired." Evelyn's hands shook, but she finally took the device after much difficulty. She did not have the time to ask Mark how he knew Harvey, so she called Harvey first. Harvey quickly asked, "Is Evelyn okay?" Evelyn was startled, but her heart felt warm. It's me. It's over, and I'm safe." Harvey let out a sigh of relief when he heard her voice. He then said, "I'm coming down now." After hanging up the phone, Evelyn felt Mark still leaning on her shoulder. She muttered, "Stop messing around. My body is numb. Get up." However, Mark did not listen to her. He put his arm on her shoulder. The corner of Mark's mouth curled up, revealing a faint smile. "Evelyn, you used to say that you will forgive me no matter what I do. Do you still intend to keep that promise?" Evelyn was startled. She looked at his tired face and thought of the words of that criminal. She reached out her hand to stroke his hair. "Idiot. Of course I will forgive you." She vaguely knew that even if the killer had lied, Mark still kept many things from her. Mark's ability to remain calm in the face of such a situation and his interaction with the criminal showed Evelyn that everything was not so simple. However, Evelyn chose to believe in Mark. She thought that there was a reason for whatever he did. He might have done something wrong, but she would patiently listen to everything he said, because this was the gentleness that she should give him as his family and sister. Mark stroked her hair gently, and soon his vision began to blur, and he could not see anything in front of him. He hated this feeling. Will Mark finally tell Evelyn all that he had kept hidden for all these years? But why was his vision getting blurry? Was he losing consciousness? Was he injured? Episode 189, A Dark World. Mark was losing consciousness, and when the last bit of energy left in him, he said, "Evelyn, you need to be strong, and know that everything will look better tomorrow. We may not be able to stay together forever, but I think there will be someone who will always be with you. There will always be someone." It doesn't matter if it's not me, Mark thought. There must be someone else to keep her happy. I've done many wrong things, and I don't have a chance here. Mark, what kind of stupid words are you saying? Of course we will be together. You are special. Mark blinked. His brown eyes gradually lost their luster in the fading light of the nighttime. Am I special? Mark used all his strength to prop himself up on the pillar. He held onto Evelyn's head and looked down at her. He was taller to begin with. When he smiled, even the starlight in the night lost its radiance. Evelyn waited for her eyes to see his moving smile, and her heart could not help but panic. She felt that something was not right. Mark's appearance was entirely not right. Mark, you...
Evelyn, I like you. Not as a brother, but as a man. This is the last time I will be so willful. Please forgive me.
Mark leaned over and gently kissed her lips. He slowly fell onto her shoulder. Please take me home. The night was so dark that I could not see anything, and the darkness almost swallowed me up. I had been walking in the darkness all this time, and now I can't walk back to the daylight. My world was completely dark. Please take me home.
The lights will always be on at home. Before he lost consciousness, he heard Evelyn's anxious call. He thought she was going to cry again. I don't want her to cry. I want her to smile forever. Don't cry.
Mark? Evelyn stiffly felt his heavy body pressing on her. Evelyn quickly reached out to help him. Her hand touched his chest, and it was hot and moist. Evelyn trembled as she took her hand away. The bright red color instantly confused her watery eyes. Blood. It was all blood. Was the red blood flowing out of Mark's body? It must be a trick. This was not possible. Mark was young and healthy, and how could this blood come from him? Mark, don't scare me. Please, don't scare me. Wake up! Wake up! Evelyn hugged him and murmured. She wanted to reach out and cover his wound, but she did not know where it was. She could not help him in the darkness. She shook him to wake him up, but he did not respond. How did this happen to Mark? How did he become like this? He said something about not being able to accompany me. How could it be like this? We will always be together. Mark, don't die. I beg you, don't leave me behind, please. Don't bleed. Wake up. How am I going to live in this world without you? And even if tomorrow the sun tries to rise without you in my world will remain dark. Evelyn, Harvey called. The lights from the car shone on Evelyn and Mark. Harvey hurried over. Evelyn looked at him in despair. Her pale face was full of tears. Harvey, it's Mark. You have to save Mark. Evelyn hugged Mark tightly as she sobbed silently. Harvey saw the blood on her palm, and his heart jumped. Mark was wounded, and it looked severe. Harvey instantly guessed that Mark was fighting with Lance for Evelyn's life and didn't think about his own. He stopped walking, turned around, and said to the people behind him, "Call the medical team over immediately." "Yes, sir." The person who followed quickly nodded and went out to get the medics. Harvey squatted in front of Evelyn and comforted her. "It's okay. I brought a medical team here. It's okay. Let him go so I can see what the issue is." Evelyn hugged Mark with trembling arms and kept shaking her head. "Are you okay?" "No, I want to be with Mark. Once I let go of him, Mark will leave me behind. He will become cold and not remain warm. No, I don't want to be like this. I don't want to." "Evelyn, calm down." Harvey saw that she was about to break down and quickly grabbed her hand. He said seriously and firmly, "Evelyn, trust me. There's nothing in this world that I cannot do. I said I would save him, and I promise to do just that. If you hold him like this, it will be more harmful to him." Harvey's hand was hot. The temperature and power went straight to Evelyn's heart. She was terrified that her only brother would leave her. She was about to go crazy and collapse, but she suppressed it. She tightly held Harvey's hands. Evelyn's eyes showed weakness. "I believe you. Please help him. Harvey, you're never going to let me down, are you? You'll save Mark, won't you?" "Yes, I will save him. I promise you that my men will do whatever can be done to save him. Don't be afraid." Harvey nodded hard. Finally, Evelyn let go of Mark. The medical staff was approaching. They carried Mark onto the stretcher and hurried out toward the car. Evelyn had been watching Mark the whole time. She quickly stood up, but she was frail. Once she stood up, she immediately collapsed. Harvey quickly held her waist and saw that she was dehydrated. He picked her up in his arms and said in a low voice, "I'll bring you to him." Evelyn did not say anything. Her throat was dry and it was painful, but she kept staring at Mark. Harvey wrapped his arm tightly around her, silently admitting that he had lost to Mark this time. Mark had used his life to protect Evelyn. Harvey should have won, but he had lost so badly that he had nothing to say. What if he had been in Mark's place? What would he have done if he was in a position where he could block the bullet meant for Evelyn? Harvey had no idea. He had no idea at all. Harvey carried Evelyn to the ambulance. Mark's clothes had already been cut open and his chest was bright red. Harvey covered her eyes and whispered, "Don't look. Just keep your eyes closed." Mark was covered in blood. It was better not to let her see him. If she saw him, she would break down.
Evelyn's body gently trembled as she mumbled hoarsely, "I want to hold his hand." "Okay." Harvey grabbed Mark's hand and gently placed it on hers. Evelyn turned her hand and held it. Mark's palm was cool to the touch. Evelyn couldn't help but tighten her grip. She could not remember how many times she had held his hand. He always liked to hold hands with her. Mark would hold her hand back with a smile and look at her with starry eyes. "Mark, you can't die. You've said that we will always be together. You made this oath yourself. I expect you to keep that promise now." Episode 190, The Boy She Brought Home. "I'm sorry I've always broken our agreements, but this is the only one I've never wanted to break. Mark, please don't leave me alone. My parents have already left. If you go, I'll be left all alone in this world. I don't want to feel the pain of losing my family anymore. You're the one who's afraid that I'll suffer the most, aren't you? Mark, without you, my heart would hurt so much. I won't know what to do. Are you willing to make me suffer? No, you definitely aren't. So you have to wake up." The ambulance drove at top speed and arrived at the hospital quickly. Because Harvey had alerted the staff in advance, everything was ready. The wound was in the chest, and the best thoracic surgeon was prepared for the surgery when they arrived. An orderly wheeled Mark into the operating room. Evelyn hugged her knees in a daze and curled up on the sofa. Her face was ashen. "Drink some tea. The surgery will take a long time." Evelyn's eyes were dull and were not moving. Harvey swallowed the lump in his throat, hugged her, leaned over to kiss her lips, then passed her a cup of tea. Evelyn's eyes finally showed some reaction. After Harvey kissed her, he held her face and said softly, "At least drink some to maintain your strength. Otherwise, you won't be able to stay awake here and wait." Evelyn bit her lip and grabbed his sleeve weakly. She said softly, "Mark was trying to save me. Harvey, I am afraid." Harvey felt a pain in his heart. He stroked her hair. "I will stay with you. Don't be afraid." The surgery went on for a long time. Evelyn had no idea of the time. She was sitting on a chair in the waiting room, but Harvey pulled her into his arms. Neither of them spoke. Harvey knew Evelyn should rest. Her mind was overloaded and her body was feverish. Although he had put some pain reliever in the tea for her to drink, it was still not enough. She urgently needed to rest. Harvey wished he could force her to sleep, but that would be problematic. If something happened to Mark, he could not bear the consequences for her. In the end, he could only wait with her. Harvey had never thought that something like this would happen to Mark. He had still been thinking about how to explain the lies and even the memory changes to Evelyn. All of a sudden, everything became chaotic. Mark's life was more important than anything else in Evelyn's world. If Mark couldn't hold on any longer, Evelyn wouldn't be able to recover. "The patient needs a blood transfusion." A nurse had come out from the operating suite. Evelyn hurriedly struggled to her feet and said, "I'm his sister. I will give blood for him." Harvey's heart skipped a beat when he heard that. He quickly pulled her back and said, "Your body is weak. Let someone else do it." Evelyn did not listen to Harvey and was still struggling. She said, "No, let me do it. Mark suffered a serious injury because of me. I want to help him. No. There are so many people here. Call someone else," Harvey said firmly. At this moment, another nurse rushed out and said, "It's not enough for a single person to do. We can get the type A blood needed from the blood bank, but it's far." Harvey held Evelyn down as he said to Zach, "Quick, get someone to donate blood for a transfusion." "Yes." Zach nodded and quickly called out to others on Harvey's staff to find someone compatible. After Harvey finished speaking, he turned around to comfort Evelyn and said, "Your body is so weak. You can barely hold on until the surgery ends. How will you wait for him to wake up if you lose blood? Sit here obediently and wait." "I don't understand the blood type thing. How is it possible?" Evelyn muttered in shock. It was impossible. Her parents were both B-type blood. How could they possibly give birth to a child with A-type blood? Evelyn had B-type blood. Harvey heard her mutter and felt his back stiffen for a moment. Oh no. He had forgotten the blood type. Evelyn has B-type blood. Evelyn, that is the wrong blood type. Mark will die. Harvey, go tell them. No, I will go, Evelyn said, about to stand up. The panic on her face made Harvey's heart ache. Harvey hugged her waist and gently rubbed her hair. Evelyn, there is no mistake. The blood type isn't wrong. Evelyn's body stiffened. She pulled the corner of her mouth and revealed a grimace. Impossible! This is all so stupid! Tears flowed out of her eyes. She felt a sharp pain in her heart, as if something was about to tear open. She had used all her strength to seal those things away, but today's stress was unbearable. With tears in her eyes, her mind returned to that afternoon. Mark had looked at her with his brown eyes and asked, "If you don't open that door again, will you be happy? What will you choose?" Evelyn, what would you choose now? Don't think about it. Don't torture yourself. All you need to do now is wait for Mark to wake up after the surgery. Aren't you worried about that? Evelyn, listen to me. Harvey looked at her and felt as if her eyes had lost all light. Her eyes seemed lifeless. He hurriedly shook her. Evelyn finally regained her senses after being slightly shaken by him. She looked at his handsome face and repeatedly muttered, "Right. I want to make sure that Mark is fine. I want to wait for him to wake up." Evelyn bit her nails and curled herself into a ball. Mark would never leave her behind. Mark had a dream that brought him back to the first day he met her. His father was a lawyer and a man of integrity. He won a lawsuit, but his opponent got his revenge by killing Mark's parents. When Mark came home from school, the house was already burning. He stood in the street, crying his eyes out. The fire department was putting out the fire. People were watching. In the chaos, no one cared for him. That was when he saw her. He knew who she was because she was very well known in that area. The genius violinist girl who was as pure and kind as anyone. Many people around here secretly liked her and talked about her. Even his classmates occasionally spoke about her, but he had never actually met her before. She walked over to him, even though he thought she looked cold and inaccessible, like a flower on a mountain ridge. She grabbed his hand and said, "Don't cry. Come to my house." He had followed her, and when he fell into despair, she reached out and pulled him back from the edge of hell. Her parents were fine people. They helped him with his parents' funeral, and they adopted him. After that, new happiness began to grow despite his grief over his parents' death. He went to school with her, always 2 or 3 steps behind her, watching her long hair flying, her white ankles exposed, glowing in the summer light, her long scarf wrapped around her small neck in the autumn, her footprints in the winter snow. She was so dazzling. She was like an elegant princess when she played the violin. She smiled and called him Mark and took his hand in hers. Was she losing the Mark she held hands with and brought home that day?
Episode 191, Past Love and Pain. At that time, Evelyn began to think of him as her younger brother. However, he knew very well that no one would blush and stare at Evelyn as he did. No one would feel their heartbeat quicken just because they held hands with their sister. He had known from the beginning that he was never a brother to her, that he was in love with her from the first moment they met. She was the light in the darkness and warmed his dark heart. His mother was a daughter of an underworld family, and his family's blood in his veins made him restless. He hated the person who killed his parents. In a fury, he had sworn to kill the bastard. But his anger dissipated around Evelyn. He postponed his plan to kill the evil person who murdered his parents and enjoyed the happiness of being with her. He was similar to his mother. His mother had been willing to give up her status as the daughter of a mafia family for the man she loved, and Mark was willing to give up his revenge for her. He was a sinner. He shouldn't have been happy, but he was extremely happy with his new family. Every morning when he got up and went downstairs, his new mother would have already prepared breakfast, and his father would be reading a newspaper. Then he would hear the melodious sound of the violin in the morning light. The music was so moving that when he saw Evelyn practicing near the French window, he would be in a daze. Evelyn's mother would walk over and wink at him. Oh, Mark is staring at Evelyn in a daze again. He likes Evelyn. Don't worry, I will support you and welcome you someday as my son-in-law. He was so happy that he blushed, and he felt that time was the only thing preventing them from being together, and someday they would be together. In a few more years, he would be completely happy. So forget revenge. Killing people was something he couldn't do. Even if he made a plan and investigated a lot, he might fail. Even if he didn't succeed, he didn't want to be hated by Evelyn and these good parents. He was blinded by happiness, so he gave up on the plan. He would never forget the day when everything changed once again. It was the day Evelyn went to the competition. He was supposed to go there, but he had to take an exam, so he returned to school. He had called at 5 in the afternoon to promise that he would be home by 8 o'clock. No one picked up, no matter how many times he redialed. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the phone finally rang. An unfamiliar voice told him that Evelyn was in the hospital and her parents had died on the scene. Everything had happened too fast. It was all too chaotic. The police, the medical staff, the noise everywhere. He felt a pang in his heart. He felt that fate was playing tricks on him, giving him happiness and ruthlessly depriving him of it. However, the game of fate did not stop there. Instead, it became even more serious. Evelyn was severely injured, and she was hysterical after her parents died. The police came to inquire about the accident, and she kept telling them that the collision was not a coincidence and that someone had deliberately caused it. The police didn't believe her. They thought she was in trauma and was being paranoid. And while Mark was drawing the driver's face from her description, he found something that shocked him. The car accident was not a coincidence. The culprit who killed Evelyn's parents was the one who killed his parents. It was all his fault. That person was a lunatic and would not rest until he killed Mark. He had tracked Mark to his new family and decided not to let even Evelyn and her parents off the hook. It was all his fault for being so greedy for happiness. He so needed the happiness she provided that he did not carry out his plan. It's all your fault. You're the one who killed my parents. I shouldn't have brought you home with me that day. I hate you. My parents wouldn't have died if it weren't for you. I'm sorry. Please leave. I beg you, leave. I don't want to see you again. I shouldn't have brought you home. I was wrong. Mom and Dad, I know I was wrong. Could you take me away? Take me along too. Why didn't you just let me die? I'm no different from you. I brought you home and now I'm an accomplice. I'm also the murderer who killed my parents. So let me die. Mark, what did you do wrong? I hate you so much. Why don't you let me die? That way we will all be free. I'm sorry. He had apologized countless times in those days, but he couldn't say a single word when he faced her. Every time he wanted to speak, his throat would close up. He took care of Evelyn during her hysterics, allowing her to vent, and she began to suffer from several mental health concerns. She attempted suicide several times. He silently accompanied her. Sometimes he wanted to die with her, but he also thought that if Evelyn's parents knew about it, they would not want their daughter to end her life. Moreover, he couldn't die. He needed revenge. He had to kill that damn bastard and avenge his parents and Evelyn's parents. He knew she hated him, and she had become miserable and wasted. The two of them had experienced the most painful years of their lives during that time. Endless lines of creditors came to their doorstep to collect their due. They had already spent most of the insurance money. The media's pursuit of their story was relentless, and it all added up to a lot of trouble and pain. The thing that scared him the most was that he could not keep her alive. The doctor told him it was no use because she didn't want to live anymore. In the state she was in, she would live for another 3 months at most, and if her condition didn't improve, she would die.
He wanted her to live. He wanted to see her smile. He wanted her to be happy. He loved this person. He loved her the most. When he fell into hell, she was the only one who extended her hand to him. But why couldn't he make her happy? He was the person who wanted her to be happy more than anything, yet what he brought her was only grief and pain, and life worse than death. In the night when he saw her still frowning in pain in her dream, he made up his mind to give her happiness, even at the cost of his life. Let's go. I'll take you away from this place of painful memories. I'll take you to a new town and start over. Forget everything. Start a new life and live happily. Hope finally resurfaced. His grandfather found him and told him his true history. He was Richard Glenn of the Hamilton Group, and his mother was a daughter of the underworld. Their relationship remained severed for all these years because his grandfather wanted his mother to live a normal life, so he never contacted her again. Who knew this would happen? After that, his grandfather gave him a set of conditions to return to the Hamilton Group and become a pillar of the Hamilton Group as an adopted son. The money could be settled, Evelyn could be saved, and Mark could do whatever he wanted. Evelyn wanted him to be honest and kind, but he had dark blood flowing in his veins. He had much to do, so he agreed. He paid for the revenge by killing and began Evelyn's treatment. A year later, in New York City, a new Evelyn was born. He almost cried when she stood under the trees blossoming in the spring and smiled at him. He wanted to stay with her until she graduated from college, then leave her on the pretext of going abroad to study. He was afraid that she would hate him one day everything was exposed. That day was here, and he was in surgery. He was greedy again, so he pretended to be strong. Even if she could not love him knowing the result, he still coveted her love. I don't want to let go. I don't want to leave. I'm sorry, I don't have the right, but I still want to love you. I was a greedy fool, and because of that, I finally got what I deserved. None of this matters. This time I finally have nothing to worry about. As long as it is me who suffers and not you, I'm okay. A warm glow gradually appeared in front of his eyes. His parents and Evelyn's parents stood there in the light. Episode 192, Taking Mark Home. Mark was seeing his parents in a vision. His parents walked over and said with a gentle smile, "Richard, you've already become an invincible man. You've suffered for so many years. I'm sorry that we are not by your side." "Dad, Mom." Mark's eyes were filled with tears and he choked. Evelyn's parents also looked at him with a loving smile. "Mark, you have taken good care of and protected Evelyn for us. You have done very well. We have never blamed you because we know better than anyone how much you have suffered." "Dad, Mom." These were all his loving and understanding parents. Even though his soul was covered in blood, they still loved him. Even though they were not his biological parents, Evelyn's parents gave him endless warmth. They were the most giving people he had ever encountered. They were the ones who allowed him to meet Evelyn. These people were standing right in front of him. "Richard, let's go home." "Mark, let's go. You have already done very well." Yes, he had done what he could. And after all these years of being loved and hated by her, he might have given her some happiness. "Evelyn, have you ever been happy because of me? If you have had even a little happiness because of me, I will be satisfied. After all these years, I've only ever regretted bringing you pain. I've never regretted anything else." A warm feeling filled his entire body. Mark unconsciously followed his parents, and they greeted him with smiles. He saw 2 adjacent houses in front of him. Cats and dogs ran in the first courtyard, and beautiful flowers were blooming in the other. A home. A real home. It was good. It was like a land of eternal happiness. "Richard, Mom will cook you your favorite dish today," his mother said. We still need to make braised pork ribs. Although Mark didn't say it, he liked his mother's braised pork ribs the most, Evelyn's mother said. There won't be any left this time. He felt that the scene in front of him was happiness, but he couldn't stop his footsteps. Tears streamed down his eyes. He couldn't move forward, no matter how hard he tried. What's wrong? His mom and dad asked at the same time. Richard or Mark, whatever you wish to be called, why are you crying? Mark's tears kept falling. He smiled weakly. I can't go with you. I can't go home yet. Why? You're tired, and you've worked very hard. There's no need to persist any longer. If you go back, what you will have to face is extremely cruel. You will be sad. His parents looked at him worriedly. Mark nodded. I know. I know that I will have to face her hateful gaze when I go back. I know that I may be hurt, but I still want to return. She is not here, and I don't want to live in a world which has no Evelyn. Mark took a step back and looked at the faces of his family. He turned around and said, Goodbye, Mom and Dad. Allow me to stay here with you for a while longer. We will reunite as a family in the future. When the time comes, I will come home to you. He had to go back. No matter what, he really couldn't leave Evelyn alone. If he died, she would cry. No, he had said that he would protect her. How could he make her cry? Let me cry. Let me be sad. I can bear it. I can handle anything, as long as I can come back to Evelyn. Mark struggled in his dream, and the light gradually disappeared. In reality, Evelyn held his hand tightly, calling his name repeatedly with a pale face. Mark, 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 don't die. Don't die. Don't leave me alone. She was almost scared to death when she heard the nurses say that the patient's heart was failing. She panicked, and she didn't know what to do but to hold his hand and beg him over and over again. His heartbeat, it's back. She knew Mark would respond to her requests. After another 2 hours, the surgery finally ended. It was already the second day of Mark's unconsciousness, and Evelyn had not slept since yesterday. Harvey pulled her and said, Go and rest. There will always be someone with him. No, the danger period hasn't passed yet. I have to guard him. Evelyn's body almost collapsed before she could finish her sentence, and she immediately fell to the side. Harvey quickly caught her, picked her up, and said to the medical staff, Take a look at her. I think she needs some fluids. Okay. The doctor moved forward to do as Harvey requested. Evelyn was taken to another room, where a doctor found that her fever was dehydrating her. He quickly ordered an IV drip. Harvey had been watching her from the side the whole time. Her face was ashen, and her body looked even thinner now. She was lying there as if she was a doll about to break apart. He felt a sharp pain in his heart. He hadn't been able to protect her, causing her to become like this. Damn it! This was the first time he felt uncomfortable with a woman. He did not know what this feeling was. He only secretly swore in his heart that he would not allow this to happen again. He wanted to protect Evelyn. Zach hurried over from outside the room as Harvey kept watch over Evelyn. He leaned over to Harvey and said, Sir, I did not say anything because you have been accompanying Evelyn. At noon today, the media got a hold of what happened last night, and it has been misinterpreted and reported. Your grandmother has requested you to call her at home. Shocking! Harvey Cage uses money to win over a woman. CEO of the Cage Group, Harvey Cage, threw $10 million out of a helicopter for a woman. The media reported the incident as him just lavishing his wealth willy-nilly on some woman. Dolores was in search of an opportunity like this to bring Harvey down. Did Harvey just serve Dolores the reason to usurp him? Episode 193, Evelyn's Little Dream. Hearing the news, Harvey slammed the newspaper on the table and shouted angrily, This is ridiculous! Do the media not have any brains in their head? How dare they report such a completely untrue story? Send someone to talk to the newspapers and shut this story down permanently. Is the news industry truly no longer capable of reporting the truth? Zach bowed his head slightly and said, I have already sent someone, sir. The problem now is that the report has already been published. Because of Mark's identity, we cannot tell the truth. In the past, the Cage Group's public relations team could challenge the newspaper directly and solve every problem. But this time the problem was too big. They could not challenge the newspapers, and they also had to cover up the truth. Of course, Harvey knew how powerful they were. He thought for a while and said, "Zach, organize the legal group. I want to have a video conference with them." "Yes, sir." Zach nodded and pressed a button on the table. An image immediately appeared on the wall. Zach looked at him and asked, "Sir, over to Cage Mansion." "It's nothing more than a reprimand. The family might force me to hand over my power and temporarily resign if they blame me. I don't have time to listen to all that nonsense. What's important now is to minimize the negative impact of public opinion and not let my grandmother get hold of anything. If I can't control this story and avoid the Cage Group looking bad, I will lose it all." Harvey's eyes were bloodshot. He had not slept for a day and a night. No matter how strong a person he was, he could not work without rest. His body was tired, but Harvey was stoked with adrenaline. He would not allow himself to lose. Whether it was a matter of his family or Evelyn, he would never allow anything to go wrong. The internet conference began. Zach quietly made a cup of coffee for Harvey and placed it next to his hand. All he could do now was support this man's decision as much as possible. He was a man who wouldn't allow himself to be brought down by anyone, so Zach had to help him win. Dolores faced all the senior shareholders in the family mansion and said solemnly, "If a man does not have a family to fight for and bring up, he is bound to lose his senses. Since the CEO of the Cage Group is like this, the older generation will have to intercede and provide him with a partner. This time, the candidate is the daughter of the Channing family, Alyssa Channing. She is well-educated and level-headed, and she will not betray us. The heirs of the Cage family make mistakes repeatedly, and it hasn't been at all pleasant. So it is time for us to groom a new heir. I hope everyone can support me and assist me in getting Harvey married. If Alyssa is pregnant soon, he will restrain himself in the future." "But ma'am, even if a new successor is born, it will be years before he will be ready to assume Harvey's role." Dolores coldly swept a glance at him and said stiffly, "Till the heir can't stand alone, I will fully support him and help him." Everyone was suddenly happy with that answer. The old woman intended to rule over everything without allowing others to gain power. Even though some felt that this woman's ambition was too great, no one dared to oppose her in the open. These people knew that there was almost no place for them in the Cage Group as far as Harvey was concerned. Harvey knew that they were his grandmother's puppets and didn't trust them. It was safer for them to rely on Dolores to protect them all and take the heat. When the young heir would come to power, they would possibly be in line for additional benefits for supporting her plan. Due to greed, everyone agreed with Dolores's plan. With their support, she officially took action and began her latest crusade against Harvey. The war between the two generations of the Cage family had officially begun. These things had nothing to do with Evelyn for the time being. She lay on the bed and had a dream. Young Mark was crying, and the sky was full of flames. He was crying his heart out. She walked over and held his hand. "Let's go. Come home with me. From today onward, you are my brother. Your name is Mark." "Are you in a bad mood? I'll play the violin for you. It's the happiest tune. Mark, it would help if you learned how to play the piano. I want to play the violin on the greatest stage. Mark, I hope I can play the violin for you. Mark, I want you to be happy." A few scenes appeared in her mind, one after another. She struggled endlessly, panicking. She saw a door in front of her. Many scenes were floating through the door. The scenes seemed to be her past, but she did not dare to move forward. She moved back, step by step. Her parents died young. She and her brother lived together. She loved fashion design. She dreamed of becoming a designer. "You're a coward." A person suddenly walked out of the door. She was wearing a blue high school uniform. Her long hair was loose and tied with a bow at the back. It was herself. Evelyn, wearing her high school uniform, looked at her and said calmly, "Evelyn, you know that there is something wrong with your memory.
Sometimes strange things flash and enter your dreams. You know that you have forgotten something, but you do not dare to try to recall it. You are willing to live in an illusion because you are a coward. It's nothing like that. Evelyn grabbed her shoulders with trembling hands and argued, I'm not a coward. I have no problem with my memory. I'm fine. You must have dreamt of it. My brother crying in the fire, a beautiful house, a woman playing the violin, a man who watered the flowers, and a man with fierce eyes. Why did you dream of these things? No, I don't know. I don't know about these things. I don't know about those things. I saw them on TV, or possibly I had a strange dream. Evelyn looked evasive as she argued. Liar, the high school Evelyn retorted. You've never learned to play the violin, but you know how to play it. You have a younger brother, but his behavior toward you is unusual. Haven't you ever suspected anything? That was just a coincidence. As for Mark, he's just friendly with me and confused himself. Your parents both have B-type blood, and so do you. But your brother has A-type blood. Before he lost consciousness, your brother said he liked you, not as a brother, but as a man. It can't be any more obvious. Shut up! Shut up! Shut up! Stop talking! Evelyn covered her ears in pain, not wanting to hear what she was saying. Enough. It was enough. Evelyn didn't need to know about those things at all. She just wanted Mark to be by her side and happy the way she remembered. These doubts, couldn't she just let them go as some absurd things she imagined? She wanted to be happy. She would be satisfied as long as she didn't open this door. So, why was she willing to open this door? Did she have the courage to push open the door that kept the secret of her past locked and that Mark wanted to keep shut? Episode 194, Pushing the Door Open. The high school Evelyn chided the scared Evelyn. You can't always be a deserter. No matter how many times you dodge these things, these memories belong to you and will always be with you. Evelyn, you can't escape anymore. The truth is through this door. Come on, let's see your real past. Evelyn trembled as she looked at her. The corner of her mouth was trembling. Can't we just not look? I feel that after seeing it, Mark and I will not be able to have happiness in our lives. Even so, this is the truth, and you have to see it. Besides, it is unfortunate that only Mark remembers it. Don't you think it is pitiful to keep this from you? Evelyn's body trembled as she thought of Timothy. Yes, people who forget and people who remember are all in pain. If showing it to her was a tragedy, then Mark, who had been carrying this secret beside her all this time, was to be pitied. How could she let herself be happy when Mark was in so much pain? Evelyn took a deep breath and walked through the door. She remembered Mark's words. If you don't open that door, you will be happy forever. What will you do? Sure enough, I still have to open it. Evelyn smiled bitterly and walked through the door. In an instant, her memory was unlocked. Wayne's hypnosis was dispelled, and her memories flooded over her. The first time she met with Mark, his parents were dead. He was crying out loud with his scarlet eyes, hatred, and hysterical curses. To remember everything that had happened made her heart ache. That day after her parents died in an accident, Mark had just stood by her side. He didn't cry or speak. He listened to her and let her hit him, leaving a mark on his face. She had tried to kill herself. She didn't eat. She was withered. But he stayed with her until the doctor didn't know what to say to him one day. In desperation, he rushed in and knelt on the ground. He grabbed Evelyn's hand tightly and repeated, trembling and crying, I beg you to live. Although blinded by pain and hatred, she vaguely remembered that her parents had seen the perpetrator when the car accident happened. Her mother, lying in a pool of blood, had said, You have to live a long life with Mark. You have to be strong. Her parents never blamed Mark for a single moment. The pain of losing her parents made her lose her sanity. She had said to a teenage child who was already blaming himself, I hate you. I regret bringing you back.
Evelyn felt like a knife was cutting through her heart. She realized how much damage she had inflicted on Mark, who was also injured. But then he brought her to someone that had her treated. It was called sleep therapy. Now that Evelyn thought about it, the therapy was probably tampering with her memory. By the time she regained consciousness, she had changed. She still remembered the day she walked in the spring flowers in her dress. She opened her arms and felt as if she had been reborn. She looked back and saw tears in Mark's eyes. She asked, "Mark, why are you crying?" He raised the corner of his lips, but his eyes still filled with tears. He said, "I feel happy, Evelyn. I'm sorry. I feel so happy. Am I not allowed to enjoy seeing you like this?"
Mark, you are so strange and in such a weird mood. You are so happy that you are crying. Mark, you are indeed my younger brother.
It was only now, at this very moment, that she knew what he had meant at the time. He did not allow himself to be happy, but he felt so delighted when she returned to life that he cried. There was sunlight, beauty, sports, and everything else. Mark was always her proud brother. Now she realized that Mark had changed everything for her. He had suffered so much damage just for her happiness. He wanted to give her a brother that would make her feel happy. "Mark, why are you still by my side? I treated you like that. I said such cruel words. Why do you still insist on staying by my side? I've forgotten everything. But how did you get through all this alone?"
"Evelyn, I like you the most. Evelyn, will you forgive me no matter what I do wrong? We will be together forever. No matter what happens, we will not be separated. We have an agreement. This is an oath. You still have me. You will always have me by your side. Evelyn, I don't want anyone. Only you."
The little boy carried all the pain on his back, never letting Evelyn know about anything. At the age where he needed protection the most, he had decided to protect her instead. "Mark, I'm sorry. I have no right to be protected by you. I don't deserve it." "Mark, Mark, Mark." Evelyn was crying in her dream as she called Mark's name. Tears fell from her eyes and wet the pillow beside her.
"Evelyn, wake up! Wake up!"
Harvey could not bear to watch anymore. He gently shook her body and woke Evelyn up after a while. Evelyn opened her eyes in a daze. It was as if she had been drowning and was suddenly fished out of the water. For a few seconds, her body stiffened. And then it was as if she had found her breath again. She breathed heavily, and her dark eyes, which had lost their focus, gathered a little bit of light again. Evelyn blinked, but tears kept falling from her eyes. After her memories came back, she could not differentiate between dreams and reality. Harvey took a handkerchief to wipe the sweat on her forehead and asked in a low voice,
"Did you have a nightmare?"
Evelyn looked up and recognized him. Harvey's eyes were so red. He must not have slept. She wanted Harvey to rest now. She felt sorry for his tiredness. But at this moment, she couldn't care about anyone else but Mark. Raising her hand to grab his sleeve, Evelyn spoke hoarsely. "Mark!" Her heart was in pain, and she was worried about the past, the injuries, and Mark. A lot of things occupied her mind. Now Mark was undoubtedly the first one in her heart. So even though she was very concerned about Harvey's well-being, she still asked about Mark. Harvey did not get angry. He leaned over and gently held Evelyn's chin.
"Don't talk yet. Your throat is parched. I will get you a glass of water. He is fine, but he is still in a coma. The doctor said the danger has passed, but he will take 2 or 3 days to wake up."
Evelyn looked at Harvey's back. Ever since she was kidnapped, this man had been busy working to save her, and her mind was completely focused on Mark, not caring about him. But Harvey was not angry at her. Harvey brought the water and sat beside her. He looked at her with his hooded eyes. He wanted to lighten the mood in the room so that she wouldn't feel so bad, so he deliberately smiled and said,
"Do you want me to feed you with my mouth?"
He did not expect Evelyn to respond. After all, this woman was timid. Unexpectedly, Evelyn nodded. Harvey was startled. He narrowed his eyes and said,
"Are you sure? I get greedy when I get near you."
Evelyn nodded again. Harvey was in a difficult position. Since the person of his desire had already agreed to his request, it would be too unmanly if he did not do something. Episode 195, In His Arms. Harvey had never imagined that Evelyn would provoke him unexpectedly and use her eyes looking innocently at him and asking him to feed her water. It was too provocative. After taking a sip of water, Harvey bent over her and fed her water exceptionally gently. Evelyn slightly opened her cherry lips, allowing him to move unimpeded. Harvey fed her water several times, and each time was an act of lovemaking. After drinking a cup of water, Evelyn's face was slightly red and she was out of breath. Harvey knew that she needed to rest, so although he was reluctant, he withdrew. But before he could retreat completely, Evelyn pulled his clothes again. Harvey stopped and got close to her again and asked, "What is it? Is there anything else?" A gentle kiss landed on his lips. She took the initiative to kiss him, then looked at him with her sweet eyes. Her throat still hurt a little. If possible, it was best not to speak, so she could only express her gratitude and closeness to him in such an intimate manner. She felt that she could no longer hide her thoughts. She wanted to tell Harvey that she liked him. She could say that he was entirely deserving of her. Sure enough, she still couldn't say it, because there were still many things that she hadn't figured out with Mark. Between her and Mark, there were endless entanglements and ambiguous feelings. If all of this were put on hold and not solved immediately, neither of them would be able to be happy. If she had only thought that Mark was someone who controlled her in the past, she would have understood everything, and her memories would have been restored. Though she cared a lot about Mark, she always wanted him to be her brother. "Mark, what should we do? What can we do to be happy?" "You cunning woman. If you take the initiative to kiss me, I won't be able to control myself. Do you know that?" Harvey looked down at her and said. Evelyn pulled herself from her distant thoughts back to the current situation. She looked at Harvey's face and felt a moment of peace in her heart. He was a powerful refuge, strong enough to keep her from thinking about anything for the time being. And all she wanted to do now was drown in this man's cold scent. She didn't want to think about those sad memories, Mark's injured face, and that horrible car accident. "Don't go." Her voice was hoarse and weak, but she still said it. Harvey was stunned. He looked at her fragile expression and pursed his lips. "Okay, I won't go. But I haven't slept for a long time. I'm exhausted. Can I sleep next to you?" Evelyn hesitated and was a little shy, but she finally nodded. Harvey saw her nod. He took off his clothes and lifted the blanket to lie face to face with her. Evelyn looked at him and bit her cherry lips. Her eyes flickered with embarrassment and desire. Harvey smiled like a boy. Sometimes she was really easy to understand. He never knew that she was so cute when she was weak. She was like a kitten that yearned to be loved, and everything was written in her eyes. Come into my arms." Harvey held out his hand to her. Evelyn blinked her eyes and looked over. She had been thinking about getting into his arms and letting his warmth fill the gap in her heart. He must have guessed what she was contemplating. How embarrassing. "You are adorable like this. You can't help but reveal your true thoughts in your eyes. You can ask me for help without being stubborn. I do like it when you act timidly in front of me." Harvey hugged her and stroked her hair. He paused before continuing. "But I prefer the stubborn and energetic Evelyn who calls me a pervert. So get better quickly." Evelyn froze when she heard this. She then reached out and hugged Harvey. She liked this man. Harvey was so tired that he fell asleep within a moment. Evelyn gently pulled herself out of his arms and carefully got off the bed. Typically, even though her movements were light, they would still wake Harvey up. But now, Harvey did not show any signs of waking up. Evelyn looked at his handsome face in the moonlight, sleeping peacefully. She gently parted his hair and gave him a searching look. Evelyn turned around and walked out of the room back to Mark's room. There was no one there to watch him. He had passed the danger period and was now lying quietly. Evelyn opened the door and walked in. She pulled the chair beside his bed and sat down. Mark's handsome face was as beautiful as a sleeping prince at that moment. Evelyn stared at his face, and many complicated emotions bubbled up. I still have a lot of things that I don't understand. Like how we got to New York City. Like what happened to you and that gangster yesterday. We have to talk about what you were doing behind my back when you wake up. And, as I already know our blood type is different, it would be bizarre if I keep silent and say we were siblings. But I want you to be my brother. Mark, I am so selfish. I have always been thinking about my happiness. A selfish person like this does not deserve to be protected by you. Evelyn reached out and held his hand. She slowly lay on his hand. Evelyn closed her eyes and murmured, "It has been a long time. It has been a long time since those things happened. The things that we hated and felt sad about are all very far away. Mark, can we not mention those things? Can we be happy? It wasn't your fault, and I'm sure Mom and Dad would tell me not to blame you or hold on to sad things. They would just want us to be happy. Mark, we can be happy. We've been through so much to get to the place to enjoy life. I believe we can." Holding his hand tightly, Evelyn felt his warmth and fell asleep beside him. In the morning, when Harvey woke up, he found that Evelyn was not by his side. He sat up immediately and looked around. After washing up, he quietly opened the door to Mark's room and saw Evelyn sleeping beside Mark. For a moment, he felt a little uncomfortable. She cared about Mark. She missed him so much that she couldn't let him go for even a second. A feeling similar to jealousy welled up in his heart, making Harvey frown. He was a mature man, so how could he be jealous of something like this? She had been so candid with him last night, and she also cared so much about Mark. Of course it would hurt him. No, he must be more concerned about whether she liked him more in the end. Harvey took the soft blanket and draped it over Evelyn's body. He turned around and walked out. As soon as he went out to the living room, Harvey saw Zach. He nodded and asked, "What's going on at the old house?" "Your grandmother gathered some of her trusted aides for a meeting. She didn't do anything else," Zach said. Harvey raised his eyebrows. "She hasn't asked me to come over lately, so I wonder how much I have angered her." The news of such a meeting made Harvey very surprised. Logically speaking, she should have come knocking on his door long ago if he had angered her the way he suspected he had. He had even made some preparations for that occurrence, but nothing happened. That worried him more about what might be coming his way. Harvey was oblivious to the arrangements Dolores had made for him. He and Norman had cunningly deceived Sierra and Dolores and managed to cancel the engagement. But will Harvey's plans and Norman's tricks be able to save Harvey again? Or will Dolores win this battle for supremacy and power?